The most valuable tool you have in your dog training arsenal is your voice.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Even though people use their voice in dog training, out of the hundreds of dogs I see every week, lots of people are using them incorrectly. So I want to spend some time today teaching you how to use your voice and get the most out of your dog training. I'm Instructor Steve. Welcome back to McCann Dogs. Why does it even matter that your dog respond to these commands the first time? Why is that such a big thing? Well, from my perspective, it's very much a safety aspect. If I need my dog to come to me because there's a skunk or a coyote or whatever it happens to be, I want them on one command to turn and run back to me as fast as they can. I want them to want to. So I make it fun for them. But there are other situations where my dog can't come to me. They've crossed a road for some reason. There's a car coming. I can't say come at that point. I need them to sit or lie down or hold position. So there's a number of safety reasons why having our dogs trained to follow these commands and respond the first time, every time, is in fact going to save their lives. How do we make commands easy for the dogs to understand and even easier for them to follow? Well, the first thing I need to think about is, am I asking my dog to do something or am I telling them to do something? And that's a big difference in our approach. I don't ask my dog if it's okay, if they don't mind, if they're not too busy possibly thinking about considering sitting. I expect when I say sit, they do sit. Now, I don't do that in a mean or overbearing way, but if I'm not 100% sure they're going to sit, I'm not going to ask them to sit. And if they're still learning how to sit, I'm going to ensure I have a leash on, I have some great treats there, so that if I say sit, I can help them sit if they don't. Now, that's the teaching stage. That is the thing that sets us up. But deciding in their brains whether they should respond or not is not something I ever want to give them the opportunity to. I want to spend so much time having them be right and telling them over and over that the moment I say sit, I just expect it to happen. One of the most common comments we get online is that we use so much food in our training and the dogs become reliant on it. But that is actually where your voice can help you wean away from that treat. We don't use treats forever with our dogs. There's a transfer of value from the food as a reward to actually doing the exercise. And as I work towards that in that weaning process, my voice is the thing that lets the dog know they're doing things correctly. So being engaging with them, being genuinely excited when they're doing the right thing, and helping them to understand that the value is actually just working with me. When we have conversations with our dogs, we think about those conversations from a human perspective. We ask them in these big, long sentences. We make explanations and we try and reason with the dog to say, here's why I want you to do the thing. But dogs don't really work that way. Our voice is just a series of sounds to the dog. So making things a little bit simpler is going to help your dog training to be a whole much more successful. I hear sentences a lot like, come over here and sit down, or can you stop doing that, please? You know, there are these sentences that, again, the dogs don't really get. It becomes a strings of words together. Now, you as a person can understand what that means, but dogs don't really. So let's make it simple. Come. Good boy. Sit. Good sit. Yes, good job. So when I say come one time, okay, I expect them to run to me. When I ask them to sit, I expect them to sit. Breaking things down into terms where they can be more successful can really help your dog training. Now, I know the first comment that's going to come up as soon as somebody watches that clip is saying, well, of course they came. They're trained dogs. Yeah, they are, because I made it simple and I made it easy for them to be correct. They are off leash and have this freedom because they know how to respond to my voice, and I use my voice in a manner that helps them to be correct. If they weren't able to do that, they wouldn't have this freedom. And that's a really important thing. So I make my voice easy and clear to understand. More importantly, I teach them how to respond to those commands each and every time. Well, what happens if I use my voice correctly and I tell my dog to sit, for example, and they don't sit? Well, that's not something I can address out here in all the space with my dogs off leash because I'm not in a position to follow through. Anytime I give my dog a command, I need to make sure I'm in a position to follow through. So that might be my dog is on leash if they're getting pretty reliable. And if that's even going well, it might be on a long line. But if I know that I can't follow through with that command and fairly make it happen, I'm not going to give it. Because the more our dogs learn to ignore our voice and ignore those commands, the more they're going to. Using my voice to tell my dogs to do something is one really important factor. But the other thing is, what happens if my dog happens to make a mistake? And again, our human brain starts to have a conversation with the dog. I ask my dog to sit and she's lying down and she doesn't. And then I say, oh my gosh, you silly dog. I really wanted you to sit. I can't believe you didn't sit. Well, in that moment, this dog just learned in a second that if she doesn't sit when I ask her to, she gets told she's a good dog and she gets a wonderful massage. So I want to take away those conversations where we sort of rationalize it in our brain. And if I ask her to sit and she doesn't sit, I just make it happen. Good. Lie down, girl. Good girl. There's a time to use my voice in a more excited manner and have a little bit more of those conversations. And that's if I'm trying to build engagement. If I just call this dog's name and I say yes, and I give her a cookie, it's really not exciting for her. So When I do start to get those great responses, I can use my voice as another reward that lets her know she's right. But it's also the thing that can buy me time between treats. If I don't have cookies in my hand, which I don't right now, I need something to kind of let her know she's right in that moment. So if she looks away over there, what's that thing? Good girl, who's that? Jet. Yes, good girl. What a good puppy dog. You're amazing. I love you. In that time, I can praise her. I can encourage her to me, give a little pat. Then I can get my little food out and reward. This idea of following through is something that I encourage you to start right now, whether it's a brand new puppy you have in the house or an older dog. Older dogs can learn just as well, but it's important that we set that expectation in our minds. If I've said sit, my dogs need to sit. And if they don't, I'm going to help them by just placing them in a sit. I'm not mad at them at that moment, but that teaches the dog that my voice has weight. One of the biggest issues that we see is that people repeat the command over and over and over.
Marley, no. Marley.
I need to spend time teaching them how to respond. So in the early stages, that might be using a lot of food to show them how to respond, and then following through with a little touch or something to get their attention each and every time. But it's important that if you give a command, you have to follow through and make it happen to help your dog to be right sooner. It's going to avoid frustration on your part. It's also going to avoid frustration on the dog's part. Are you the only one training your dog, or do you have family in the house or little kids or friends and neighbors who come over? Being consistent with our commands through all those people, especially in the training stage, can make a really, really big difference. If someone says down when the dog jumps up on you, well, I want to make sure my dog understands that down means lie down. So if my dog's jumping up on me, I don't want to say down and expect the same behavior. So making sure everybody's consistent with their cues will really, really make it easy for the dog to be right. That consistency, and now couple that with our follow through, is really going to make it easy for the dogs. We've talked a lot today about the most important tool you're going to use outside of your house to have success in your dog training, but what about inside your house? And if you'd like to learn more about that tool, click that video right there. On that note, I'm Instructor Steve. Happy training.